push-ups. I've been doing sit-ups. I've been doing chin-ups. I've been doing pull-ups. I threw up once, but I'm okay now.
What's up, ladies and germs? It is the Ysn Power Hour, and it is a Wednesday, April 27th, 2022, and we are joined by the living legend himself, Mr. Scotty Mincher. Scooter, what's going on?
Always happy to be here. I always, I'm one of those guys where at times I could be creepy because I have a smile on my face a lot. And it's like, how is this guy so happy? But here it's just genuine, man. So, it's overcast outside, but this is just, I live out my dream here every week. So I just can't fake it, man. It's just how I feel.
I love it. I would also love it a little bit more if you weren't wearing that stupid jersey.
The draft is tomorrow, and Jarvis Landry is still unsigned, so I'm trying to
impose your will.
Yeah, so he re-signs, but we'll see. There's conflicting reports, so I don't know if he's going to be back, but I'm trying.
It's going to be a football-heavy show, just FYI, because of the draft tomorrow. Scotty's all amped up for this draft. We're going to talk draft. We're going to talk about just football in general. So I'm okay if you're not buying into the whole non-local sports. We just had two great shows for you here on YSN with Anthony and Ty for 2 hours with Running Point. They had a ton of local interviews and also with the Casual Sports Podcast. They just had a great show as well. So if you're not ready to necessarily buy into the draft stuff and to the NFL, because I'm not a big guy that likes to talk necessarily football until the summer months at the earliest. But tomorrow, special day, it's the NFL draft. So let's kick off our pro football coverage here with on this day in sports history. What do you say, Scooter?
Let's do it.
On this day in sports history, in 1961, the National Football League officially recognizes the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And I asked you this right before we went on the air. You have yet to ever kind of step foot into the Hall of Fame. Is that correct?
That is correct. I've never been to the Football Hall of Fame. I've been to the Rock Hall. I've talked about going to the Baseball Hall with our dear friend Jimmy Sutman, but I've never been to the Football Hall, believe it or not.
Maybe we'll take a trip there in the next couple of weeks. Instead of coming here on Wednesday, maybe we'll take a trip there and we'll do a little vlog. What do you say?
Oh, I would absolutely love it.
All right.
I'd be all about it.
Sign it up. Tell Super Dave to gas up the Golden String jet. Okay, so do you like – I mean, obviously, you're an Ohioan, so you can't not like that the Pro Football Hall of Fame is in Canton, Ohio. Do you like that?
Yeah, I think there's a sense of pride, definitely, with it being there. And especially, I think football, it's by far I think definitely in Ohio and even NFL wise throughout the world, in America, it's the most popular sport. But here, you just mentioned local stuff that
Mm-hmm.
Anthony and Ty covered previously. Here, everyone's football crazy for high school.
12 months out of the
It's
year.
yeah, it's there's never an off season. So uh, I take just there's a ton of joy in that, a ton of joy that the Rock Hall's a part of the Hall of Fame, but even more so the football Hall of Fame is in Ohio. I said part of the Hall of Fame, but both of them being in Ohio take a lot of joy in it. But most of all, the football one, because sports was my first love,
Mm-hmm.
music and, movies and stuff like that. That came second. But sports being my first love and the football being in Canton, the Hall of Fame is, and especially having the what I think was really the pioneer of what football is today, Paul Brown, his imprint. I know you don't like the Browns, but just his imprint. There's a lot of history there. So
There's a ton of history there, and I think football was originated in Canton, Ohio. Correct?
yeah,
That's why the Football Hall of Fame is there.
the Browns actually Paul Brown he invented several plays. He invented what we now know as the screen pass. So there's a lot of like the origin of football. It's really got pretty much started up in Ohio. So
Screen pass, huh?
yeah, the screen pass.
Huh. Interesting.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it gets blown up, but it's always an intriguing play.
Invented here in Ohio, where also sometimes it works and sometimes it blown up. So, all right, here's a question for you since we're talking about the Hall of Fame right off the jump. What would be your biggest draw to the Football Hall of Fame? What do you want to see the most?
I guess I would want to see, for me, just hearing the stories about the man, and I'm happy that he's still alive. Although I hear more and more when somebody brings him up that he's struggling now physically as he gets older. But anything that has to do with Jim Brown, because I've always just had just such a, I don't know, he's one of those guys that if I got to meet him, I might become speechless, and I'm not speechless around many people.
No, you're not.
But I just think, like, from watching film on him, and I know he played a long time ago. It seems like back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth. When you look at where we are now, but just looking at him for that time and how talented he was, it's hard for me if someone says he's the greatest running back of all time. Like it's hard to argue against it. There's guys that comes to mind for me, like somebody like a Walter Payton or a Barry Sanders. They definitely come to mind as well. Just thinking off the top of my head,
Earl Campbell.
Earl Campbell, yes. So guys like that, but any apparel from Jim Brown back when he played, like if I could see any of that, I would go bananas.
Well, get ready, buddy. We're gonna tell Super Dave to gas up the jet. We're gonna head over to Canton, Ohio here one of these Wednesdays. I think that'd be cool to see it through, almost like taking a kid to Disney World, seeing it through their eyes. Seeing it through Scotty's eyes would probably be very, very similar to that. Any busts, like the busts? Do you want to see any of the busts like out of other than Jim Brown, whose bust would you be attracted to seeing? And just looking at that from a standpoint of that's their actual face, that's their bust.
It'd be the other guy I mentioned for sure, because I was just
Walter Payton.
It wouldn't be Walter Payton. It would be Barry Sanders.
Really?
Because I was fascinated with him as a kid. Just the ultimate cheat code, I thought he was. And he's just one of those guys I admire. Like, not to make you nauseous, DJ,
gosh, here we go.
Too much about Ohio and Cleveland, but Barry Sanders was to me like a Nick Chubb, like almost like he's not even human. Like, I'm just gonna do my job, and when I score,
let's not get Nick Chubb into this category of he's a cheat code. He's not a cheat code yet.
No, not yet, but he's a damn good running back.
Mike Bartos says the Hall of Fame is definitely worth the trip. I went for the first time last summer and had a great time. So there you go.
DJ, I was just wondering, I know you're the host.
Oh, boy.
But if I could.
Take it away.
I was wondering if I could return the question
to
you. What would you want to see the most?
Well, I got to go to the Hall of Fame. It's a crazy story. But I was working a deal with my former employer with General Motors, and they said to show up in Warren, what I thought was Warren, Ohio. I thought they just got it wrong, and it was like the plant over in where is that? Lordstown. Well, they meant Warren, Michigan, and completely crossed wires. So a colleague of mine and I went to the Hall of Fame for my first time, his first time, because we were in the area, and it was interesting from this perspective. I had a good time from a standpoint of, number one, I was getting paid for it because I was technically still on the clock at work, but also it was good for me because I'd never been. I've been to Cooperstown. I always thought that it would be much bigger than it is. It's not huge. It's not big. Even, I don't even think at all. There's just multiple wings to it. And when you get into the room with all the busts, now that it's cool, don't get me wrong, but it's eerie because a lot of those guys are no longer with us. And when I got to some of the players from our generation, you look at, the John Maddens, I can't wait to see the Peyton Manning exhibit. The bust of Peyton Manning, one of my favorite players of all time. But the one that's going to mean the most to me, and you know who I'm going to say.
I know.
In 5 years.
TB.
No.
Bang.
Yes. It's like you don't even know me, Scotty. I like TB, but he's a few years away from his 5-year clock starting, I think.
That's especially with him coming back. I don't know. I had a brain fart.
You pray that he's retired. That's what it is. You wake up every day and hoping it's a bad dream that he's going away because you think that one less world champion quarterback will mean that the Browns are that much closer to getting theirs.
Yeah, I guess.
No, ain't going to happen.
Hey, at least he's not in the AFC, I guess.
But you still have to beat the NFC team.
That's true.
Believe it or not, Scotty, you can't just beat the Steelers and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but what's the line that Rick Moranis says in the movie The Little Giants? All it takes is one time.
Oh my God!
If you just give me that one shot, Brady's lost the Super Bowl 3 times, so
but he's won it 7 times.
Yeah. He's the GOAT, but he's not, immortal.
Well, he's trying to prove us all wrong in that aspect, I think. 44? 45?
Yeah, he's
unbelievable.
And, he was still playing like at a top 5 QB level last season. And I don't know if you've seen this, DJ, but there's this stat that, like, it really dives into the analytics and sabermetrics. And Tom Brady, he's the only one throughout NFL history they say great quarterbacks average like 6 or 7 bad games a year. He's only at like 3 or 4 bad games a year, which is just absurd when you really think about it.
Just a guy from Michigan, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the heartbeat of this show today, Scotty, which is going to be, you tell me, is it going to be the draft?
Yeah, I'm really excited for the draft. Although the Browns, they're gonna be, it's gonna be excitement for Friday night for a long time because we don't have a first round pick the next 3 years. But the way I look at it, our first round pick was Deshaun Watson. You could say what you want about all the stuff off of the field, but on the field, I do think he's an upgrade over Baker, although take that with a grain of salt because last year I said I thought Baker was a top 10 quarterback. So
I know you got ammunition. I know you told me earlier you've got ammunition for me today, so I can't wait to see all of these arrows that you have in your quill.
I do, and starting off, I wanted to get your thoughts, DJ. Here we go. This is question number 1. I keep seeing now more and more these last few days. At the beginning of about a month ago or so, when the Browns traded for Deshaun Watson, a lot of the talk around Baker was negative and how he just hasn't won enough games, and his market value is. That's why he is where he is, and his market value isn't that high. No one wants to take on that salary. But now I'm hearing from more and more people, and I think you even said this on the show last week, that you said something to the effect that basically you think Baker Mayfield's the best quarterback prospect in this draft this year. So my question to you, DJ, I'm not going to ask you about a number 1 because obviously he's not elite. Whether you think he's good or bad, he's not one of the best in the league right now, no matter what side you're on. But would you, if you were the Steelers, would you give up 2 and a 3 right now for Baker Mayfield?
No. Because the Browns drafted this cat. The Browns can be on the hook for him because I think that Baker's okay because as soon as he gets cut, he's getting picked up. The Steelers have been a name.
You think I know
the Panthers have been a name.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of Miami's been a name. So you look at that and you go, it's almost as if Cleveland doesn't understand how these things work. You can't do what they did and have your quarterback gain value when you just paid somebody $230 million to replace him.
But DJ, to counter that, I really truly believe this, that the Browns, they didn't, as much as they wanted Deshaun Watson, I really truly believe that they thought they were out of the mix. And I think once they got him, they were, elated, euphoric that it got done, but it kind of left them with their pants down with Baker Mayfield.
See, I disagree with you because you don't give someone 100% guaranteed money and expect them not to take that deal. Like, to me, it was their options were exhausted. They saw that Watson was going to go somewhere else. Excuse me. they saw that he was going to go somewhere else. Where was the other place that he was? Was it Chicago?
There was the other the two big teams in the mix. I think they said there were like 12, but the serious contenders at that time, the other two, I believe, were Atlanta and New Orleans.
Okay, so you got Atlanta and New Orleans that obviously had better opportunities for him at that point. And then the Browns just came in with guns ablazing, like it's draft day part 2. And they go, Deshaun's our guy. We're going to give you 100% guaranteed salary, yada, yada, yada. We don't care what you're going through in court. You're our guy. You're the savior of Cleveland. Where have we heard this before? Where have we heard? Every time Cleveland gets a quarterback, we hear about it's the next best thing. The Browns, pray to God. I mean, you said 3 years of draft picks, right?
3 years of number ones.
I mean, if this does not work out,
guaranteed a ton of guaranteed money,
and then they go and pay Denzel Ward. And
yeah, but DJ, the interesting thing though, you were saying last week, like, how are they going to afford everything else? But apparently, like, from what I'm hearing, the Browns aren't going to be in a bad cap situation for a while. And I'm hearing the cap's just like everything in this country, it's going to continue to go up and up. So it might not be as dire as, we don't, unless you somehow study it and you know it, and maybe you do, DJ, but I'm just speaking, in general. I mean, maybe you've studied this and I don't even know, but I think, even if you're a huge NFL fan, nobody really understands the cap like general managers do. And I think even they have a hard time grasping everything and how certain moves are going to affect other ones. So we could speculate and say, how are they going to afford to make any other moves? How are they going to afford this guy? But, I hear other people saying that it's not going to be an issue. So it's like, I don't know, what do I believe here? Because definitely the cap is a reason why there's so much parity. I mean, you saw it with the Chiefs. Sometimes a player gets an offer he can't refuse. Tyreek Hill got buku bucks from Miami, and he's gone when most people probably thought, oh, they'll keep that team in place, even with the Mahomes mega deal. So I just don't know what to believe.
So here's
comes to the salary cap. I just don't understand it enough, honestly.
It's a scenario, Scotty, where I think the Browns wanted to sell some tickets. They wanted to get people excited again after a year that was not exciting for Cleveland fans. And this is what they did. This is what they know how to do. They go out and they make a big splash in free agency. That's it, or I guess in the trading space, not free agency. That's what they did. Let me read you this. And this is going to go into my point. I know you got those arrows in the quill still, but this is my point. Okay. Let's say best case scenario, you cut Baker Mayfield right now. Some other team is going to get an inspired quarterback, the same inspired quarterback that was playing for your Cleveland Browns for the last 3 years. And then you said, let him the playoffs, let him do a playoff win over Pittsburgh that everybody somehow forgot wasn't the Super Bowl. Then the next year happens, he gets hurt. Half of the fan base is clamoring for him to continue to play because that's the Cleveland way. It's we play when we're hurt. Even when we're sick, we go to work. That's how we do things in Northeast. Bring your lunch pail, get excited, be the guy. Doesn't matter what your stature is. He throws, he's Brett Favre. He's Drew Brees. He's the next coming of our Lord and Savior of the Cleveland area, of Lake Erie. He is Baker Mayfield. All of a sudden, like a hot water tank, Cleveland turns off on Baker Mayfield because we lost Jarvis Green. Do you remember when Jarvis Landry? Yeah, and then you have Odell Beckham Jr. That when Odell leaves, people are saying, good riddance. See ya. Bye. So long. See you later. We didn't like you anyway. When the reality was, OBJ was one of the biggest pickups in Cleveland history from that standpoint. Cleveland is always so quick to turn the page on people. And that's why I think this is a dangerous scenario for Deshaun Watson. Because now everybody knows how much he's getting paid. He's not getting paid $19 million like Baker Mayfield, who all he wanted was a $40 million contract, right? So the Browns weren't willing to give a $40 million contract, and I've said this before, so I don't want to reiterate it too much. But they're willing to give a $240 million contract to all guaranteed to Deshaun Watson, who hasn't played in almost 2 years. If Deshaun Watson does not win the Super Bowl in the next 4 to 5 years, which is the length of his contract, is it a bad deal for the Browns? Because, Scotty, in 2023, this is who you have coming out. From a quarterback standpoint, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, DJ Uiagalelei or whatever from Clemson. He's a stud. He's 6'4", 250. He's a monster. Sounds like a Pittsburgh quarterback to me. Cam Ward from Washington State. Slovis from Pitt, who transferred in. Jerkovec from Boston College. Brennan Armstrong from Virginia. Tyler Van Dyke from Miami. JT Daniels from West Virginia. Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. You've got Jake, I don't even know who this guy is, Fresno State, 6'1", 195. So basically another Baker Mayfield there. Spencer Rattler, Devin Leary from NC State. You got Jaden Daniels, and you got Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma. You guys don't have a shot at any of those quarterbacks. None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Not only them, no running backs, no defensive backs. Everything you do from now on, basically, you're going to have to do.
They pushed all their chips at the front of the table. So to answer your question, Deej, I do believe it is a failure. If they don't win a Super Bowl in the next, I think his contract is 5 years, but I think they envision him being there the next 10. And even he said he sees himself finishing his career in Cleveland.
Jeez, oh man.
But that being said, if they don't win a Super Bowl, and the thing going against them is, you mentioned the GOAT, Tom Brady, but after Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, who else is really, really good at quarterback in the NFC? Where you look at the AFC and it's loaded with the.
That's all good, but what happens every single January, Scotty? What wins championships? Defense. And the Browns, do you think they have a championship caliber defense right now? Or are they going to get into an arms race?
I think, their defense statistically, in my opinion,
I'm going to throw up.
I'm going to throw up. If you finish in the top 5, you're elite. And they finished
elite
in the top 5 statistically last year. If you're a top 5 defense, that's more than good enough to win the Super Bowl. I think you could win the Super Bowl. It's been done before with the top 15.
How is your defense elite and you didn't make the playoffs?
Because our offense was one of the worst in the entire NFL. We didn't score.
But yet through 16 weeks, all I heard about was, Oh, give it to Chubb. Give it to Hunt. Give it to Chubb. Give it to Hunt. Screw Baker. Baker's the best quarterback of all time. He's top 10. He's top 5. Give it. It doesn't work this way. Like, again, you can't turn the page on history as we know it. It's not like that. In the Browns defense, I would argue you can say top 5 all you want. I don't think elite at all. You got beat by the Steelers twice. Like, literally, there was a TC Ready Mix truck out there playing quarterback for the Steelers, and you got beat twice. That's not an elite defense. You can take all the stats you want because stats can be manipulated. Stats.
But Roethlisberger, I mean, let's face it, DJ, as much as I hate to admit this, and you say he was a statue last year, but he's already had a career that right now Baker could only dream of. He won 2 Super Bowls. He was still savvy enough to make the plays when they needed to be made. It's not like the Browns weren't right in both of those.
That sounds like an excuse. That doesn't sound like elite.
I just think you look at Baker's track record and it just speaks to his career.
So last year was Baker's fault?
His first year,
is that what we're saying?
I think it was more on Baker's play than Stefanski.
Oh my goodness! Here's Bryce Franken chiming in. I knew that he would scour the internet for the Baker Mayfield talk. He loves him, and I'm with him. He says you turn it on Baker because you believed he can't win a Super Bowl, so you go and sell the farm and sold out morally for a guy who you believe will. If he doesn't win, the whole thing is an epic failure. Do you believe that?
I do believe that, but I'm also fine. Like I told you this last year, DJ, when I made the bet with you and we turned it into a double. You never cash in at the window. We just keep doubling the bets. But I told you this last year. Like, I'm sick of having that mentality that you're talking. Like that Cleveland, like we can't do this because, what if this happens? Like you can't be afraid to do something because you're afraid of what's going to happen 20 miles down the road. Sometimes you got to live in the now. And I say go all in, push all the chips at the table. The Browns have guys in their prime right now. I'm sick of waiting. I'm about championships.
What?
I want to win a Super Bowl.
You almost beat the Chiefs, and that counts as like a Super Bowl championship in the world of Cleveland fans. I still hear people that say we should have beat the Chiefs. We should have beat the Chiefs. We got screwed.
You haven't heard that come out of my mouth.
No, Scotty, but when you wear that jersey, you fly the flag, brother. You fly the flag. Here is a couple. Watson cannot play in cold weather. Go Steelers. Has not won a game in under 40 degrees and is playing in one of the coldest places next to Lambeau Field.
But here's the thing, DJ, too. You said a lot of the fans are excited, and I'm one of them. I agree with that, but I've also heard it's a 50-50 split. You got a lot of fans divided as well, and this is just exclusively because of the stuff morally, especially the women in the Browns fan base. There's people I know that absolutely hate this move, and they don't know if they're gonna stay a fan of the Cleveland Browns, which, I mean, I'm not, me not being a woman, I think it's...
Wait, what?
Yeah, big revelation, right? But, it's easier for me to just say, I believe in second chances and, America's a forgiving country, which I do believe in all that, but also, where there's smoke, there is fire. And I think it'd be one thing if there were one or two civil cases against Deshaun Watson, but when there's 22, that's going to really, I think half of the fan base is ecstatic. The other half is really angry.
I haven't heard a good Roethlisberger joke in a while. You know that?
Yeah, it's funny how the tables turn sometimes.
Aaron Moser chiming in. He says, just FYI, and this was we were having to talk about Cleveland winning games. We beat Cincy twice. No one else in the AFC North beat them. With a wink face.
Well, I did tell you too that I know you don't think Denzel Ward is really that much, but he was the only quarterback down the stretch in the second half of the season that
you're gonna make me throw up.
Jamar Chase. So there is that.
Hey, so real quick, when you guys went 4-0 in the preseason, all those years, did you get to did you get to sniff the Super Bowl trophy? Did you get to sniff the Lombardi? And how did that affect you in the postseason that year? Because beating the Bengals, that got you real far.
But I mean, you have to.
You see where I'm coming from, because that comment, not Sigler's comment that says the Browns defense surrendered 40 plus at least twice while the offense scored 35, but the Browns fans blame Baker. This comment right here, this is what I wish I could frame up. As a matter of fact, I might print it out after the show and frame it right by your desk. And we beat Cincy twice. No one in the AFC North. Who the hell cares?
But again, though, DJ, and I'm not saying you're wrong for doing this, but I said this on the show last week. You look at everything from a Pittsburgh lens, a Pittsburgh fan's perspective, and outside of the Pirates, who haven't won a World Series since '79, but
now you're just being hurtful.
Still more recent than the now Guardians. But it goes back to the point I made last week when we as Cleveland fans, and I'm not saying this is right, we have to get past this mentality, but you give us a little taste of success and we think it's filet mignon when it's really chicken McNuggets at McDonald's. Cleveland fans,
there goes our McDonald's advertisement.
They do not know how to handle success. Pittsburgh fans, you've seen so many championships. So as Mike Tomlin says, the standard is the.
You want an analogy?
I mean, DJ, just in your lifetime, you've seen 2 Super Bowls, and I believe
been in a third.
Yeah, and you've seen how many Stanley Cups? 3, 4.
Yeah.
So you've seen. I've seen one title. You've seen 4 or 5.
Scotty,
so
but I understand your analogy. You're completely off base. It's wrong in this case. Amo and those, and not to point out Amo, but if you're going to step in the circle, you're gonna get whacked. Asking Browns fans what matters most about beating Pittsburgh twice in a season or winning the Super Bowl isn't necessarily your expectations are it's filet mignon and it's chicken McNuggets. It's like asking my 4-year-old, what's 4 plus 4? And he says purple. Like, you're not even in the right state. You're not it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the Browns beat the Bengals twice and the Bengals went to the Super Bowl and lost. That doesn't matter. There's nobody in the AFC North going, man, as long as we beat the Bengals twice, this season is the best ever. We're gonna get a T-shirt and a hat.
And I totally agree with you, DJ. That's what I was saying, that Cleveland fans have to get away from that mindset, that
Well, here's Amo.
mentality.
Amo says, you're bragging about beating us twice and how we couldn't beat you, but yet we beat Cincy twice. You want me to brag about that? No. You beat Cincinnati twice, and it meant nothing because you didn't get to the playoffs. Correct?
And the second time we beat them, I don't even count it because none of the starters played on either team.
Oh, but wait a minute. We'll count the one against Pittsburgh 2 years before. That's neither here nor there.
But that was in the playoffs. That's different.
The week before the playoffs?
That helped us get in the playoffs. That clinched the playoff spot.
But you still bragged about beating the Steelers twice in a row.
Again, you gotta walk before you run, and
I can attest to that. Let's get to
like I'll close with this, DJ. It's like Michigan football right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really think they're sitting around thinking, oh, we haven't won a national title since '97? Like, this is all we should have our focus on is a national title. No, they're still basking in the glory of beating Ohio State.
And that's the problem.
You know why? Because they hadn't did it in almost, once in 20 years.
And that's fine. You can celebrate the small victories. But correct me if I'm wrong, that the Browns were slated to be AFC North champions sometime in the last 4 years.
On paper, they've had a roster that people have said, and you've said paper champions.
Dunder Mifflin champs, baby.
I totally agree with you. The last 4 years, they've had a roster on paper that most people thought good enough to win the division.
And
they haven't. They've had one wild card appearance. So
yep.
They definitely haven't. They have not lived up to expectations.
Okay, so let's get to this because we haven't even touched the draft. We just trying to been defending ourselves against Amo today. Amo, Russell Pavlov, aka Radar, chiming in, and he says the 2022 NFL Draft is this weekend. In fact, Radar, it's tomorrow night, so you might want to tune in or lock in your TV guide. The Steelers have a first-round pick at number 20. The Browns have a second-round pick at number 44. Who do you guys pick first for both teams?
Well,
good luck picking the Browns' second-round draft pick.
Yeah, number 44. That's like, you might as well just throw something at the wall and see what's there. You're basically, it all depends. Like the first round, you could, even with the Steelers pick, there's still some level of uncertainty, but you have a general idea by looking at mock drafts. Once it gets to the second round and later on in the second round, you really have no idea. But DJ, before I answer what I think the Browns are going to do and maybe get your thoughts on what the Steelers are going to do, you talked about your desire to acquire Deebo Samuel as
I'd love
a Steelers fan last week. It's being reported now that the asking price for Samuel, though, is 2 first-rounders. If you were the Steelers, would you?
No, they get one. Deebo Samuel is not worth.
Give them a 1 in a a 1 in a 3, something.
No, what do they need multiple first-round draft picks for? Again, this is about leverage. Leverage, Scotty. It's so valuable to know where you are. The 49ers, yes. Is Deebo Samuel valuable? 100%. Is he the best receiver in the draft? I think so. So he's worth a first-round draft pick.
And he's already better than anyone coming up because you've seen him succeed at the high.
But he also wants a ton of money. He wants a ton of money from a standpoint of He wants a contract like the cheetah, and he's not going to get it. He's not like, I take that back. I have no idea how these things work anymore and how these guys get paid what they do, but good for them, right? In the land of opportunity, good for them. But he's not worth more than a first rounder. He said he wants out. What leverage do the 49ers have at this point?
See, I saw a report though on CBS that his dispute with San Francisco, it wasn't money driven, but that's I find that hard to believe because, as the old saying goes, money makes the world go round.
Also, mo money, mo problems. One of my good buddies came up with that one.
Notorious. I like the Biggie reference, but yeah. So, but I see, but that's where I think, as much as you could say the Browns are making a mistake, and I know you truly believe they are with the Watson thing, I think if it's a quarterback, you go ahead and you give them the farm, because we've seen it work with the Rams. That's what the Rams did. What happened? It paid off. They won a Super Bowl. So because it's
the Rams went in all in on every position.
Yeah, but more than any other was the quarterback position. They gave up the most assets to acquire Stafford. Then
Jalen Ramsey. They gave the Rams don't pick until Zaire's like 75.
Okay, I mean you could say that about the Browns. That they gave Deshaun Watson a king's ransom, and then you give Denzel Ward the farm.
Okay,
too,
so value, again, I will say this 100% of the time because this is one of my sales pitches.
And Myles Garrett, by the way, just a year ago.
Myles Garrett sucks. Myles Garrett sucks. Like he should have to get a performance-based bonus based on how much he actually plays. Because you and I have had that conversation before. We're not going to get into that. Value.
TJ Watt's better. I'll give you that. He's better.
And nobody should ever argue that. Not just because he plays in Pittsburgh. He's an impact player every single time he takes the field.
But
every single time.
Myles Garrett.
We're supposed to be talking about draft stuff.
I know, but he's only missed a
handful of what
every week
for halftime. He's always on the sideline. Watch, he's like holding Stefanski's clipboard. Like that's what he's always doing. He's always on the sideline. And then for 2 years, he got to play. Well, he had COVID. So you got to take it. He had COVID. Come on. All those players had COVID and they still came back and were able to do what they were supposed to do. They weren't taking plays off.
I believe he still had the most sacks in any single game that anybody had.
Oh, why? Because he played Chicago? Congratulations.
They're an NFL team.
Oh, okay.
You can only play your schedule.
We're happy for them that they got 178 sacks for Chicago.
Before this thing just totally implodes.
I'm blaming this on you.
Yeah, you can. But I just keep hearing more and more reports that the Steelers are going QB in the first round.
Smoke.
So you think it's smoke. What do you think they're going to do, and does it tie into what you would do? Do you think what they're going to do is what you want ultimately?
I don't know, because and here's why is Colbert's leaving. Like he's stepping down. He's still going to be around in some kind of emeritus role or whatever for the Steelers. So he'll be around, but he's not going to be the everyday general manager. Mike Tomlin has a big say in this. And Mike Tomlin was talking about quarterbacks, and they're scouting quarterbacks the way they did running backs last year. And we all know who they chose with the first round draft pick. That was not a popular call at the time, but I think everybody's pretty okay with Najee Harris at this point. what I want them to do, and I'll preface this, this is what I think they should do. There's two different scenarios. If they want to draft in the first round, Jordan Davis should be there at 20, the nose tackle for Georgia. He is a run stopper. He's not necessarily a penetrator of, going to get you a bunch of sacks. But what was the one thing that the Steelers did really, really poorly last year? And that was stop the run. You get Jordan Davis, high engine guy, alongside TJ Watt, alongside Cam Hayward. Let's say Tuitt comes back.
You're forgetting about Highsmith. He's pretty.
Well, he's off the edge.
I know.
But you put Jordan Davis by TJ Watt, you know where the ball is going to go. Or you put Jordan Davis on the other side. Like,
I don't know. If I was the Browns, I might try to trade back up into the first round just to keep the Steelers from getting Davis.
And we talked about it. It's an arms race right now. Everybody's trying to get quarterbacks. We got Mitch Trubisky. Everybody's laughing at us. But where we're stacking up is on defense. Watch the Steelers get Jordan Davis and change the shape of everybody. Because if you can't run the ball against the Steelers, what do you have to do?
You gotta
pass.
chuck it up.
You gotta pass.
You gotta chuck it
And
up.
how often does that necessarily work when a team takes away the run and they force you to pass? That never works.
It never works being just one-dimensional.
So here's my thing, Scotty. That's what I think will happen if the Steelers stay in the first round. I think that.
So you think all this QB talk just an absolute smokescreen?
I think they want Willis. I don't know why. I know the upside's there. I don't think that he's necessarily going to be a franchise quarterback. You got your bridge quarterback in Trubisky, and you got Mason Rudolph right behind him. I would wait until the Browns cut Baker Mayfield, and I would be all over it. Because Baker's going to want to beat the Browns twice a year for the rest of his career. Here's what I think the Steelers should do. Given that list that I gave you earlier with all the quarterbacks, right? C.J. Stroud, Young, all those quarterbacks, studs. I mean, you're talking about 15 deep next year. Trade out of the first round. Get 2 first-round draft picks next year. If you have to trade with the Browns, they don't have a first-round draft pick. Never mind. What about the Texans? Texans have a couple first-round draft picks now. They're not going to be very good. Trade with the Texans. Let the Texans back in at 20. So they got, 3 draft picks that they'll have? Everybody trade with the Texans. They can build up a nice team real fast. But I'll tell you this. With 2 draft picks in the first-round draft picks next year, the Steelers could do a lot of damage.
Well, you could even because I think everybody knows whether you think, signing Mitchell Trubisky was a, adequate move or not. And most people, have panned it, which I don't think he's as bad as some people think he is. I don't think
he's not Josh Allen. I think everybody thinks that we signed Josh Allen, and no case was that ever.
No, I think everybody knows he's a stopgap. What you can do, DJ, really, because the Steelers are going to have so much cap space and flexibility, you could ride it out this year with Mitchell Trubisky. Say worst case scenario, you finish last in the division, even if you don't make the playoffs, but Tomlin doesn't break his streak, you go 9-8, whatever, finish over 500, don't make the playoffs. You could still, the next draft, you could trade up in the draft to get your QB of the future, if that's what they really need to
But
do.
why? Like, there's nobody there that tells me that they're franchise quarterback. And it's like
I'm saying for next year.
I know, but why not trade out now? Like, why are we counting our eggs now? I don't think. Get ready, because you're going to want to replay this. I don't think the Steelers are a championship caliber football team right now. I don't think there's anybody in this draft that is going to change that for the Steelers this year. Next year, that's a different story. Give me CJ Stroud or the kid from Alabama or pretty much any of those 15 quarterbacks that we named off, and the Steelers are set for the next 15, 18 years. It's coming.
Again, there could be somebody that, like Malik Willis, or however you say his name, from Liberty. He could totally, like, there's always somebody, everybody goes to Tom Brady. You could say that's the exception to the rule. But Russell Wilson was a third rounder too. No one, like the Seahawks basically.
Yeah, and so was Mason Rudolph.
But I'm saying Russell Wilson is one of, so you never know, just because.
I get it, but those are few and far between. Those are fairy tales, Scotty. Those are fairy tales. Those guys aren't the regular guys you pull off and out of the draft. Those aren't the guys. The whole story is that Pittsburgh wanted and thought that they were going to draft Phillip Rivers in 2004. They got Ben Roethlisberger because somebody reached for Rivers. I think somebody's going to reach for Willis. Do I think somebody's going to reach for Pickett before 20? I don't know. I just hope that the Steelers don't take him. We have 2 backup quarterbacks right now that are serviceable. Bridge, stopgap, whatever you want to call them. Get out of the first round. Jordan Davis aside, some of the talent aside, get out of the first round. None of those guys are going to help you win right now. To get to which ultimately we talk about. You're thinking about Super Bowl championships. You're not thinking about how can we win the AFC North or how can we get to the wild card. You're thinking, how can we win championships? And putting the best team on the field. If you think Malik Willis is the best quarterback of this draft and is going to make a significant impact in the Steelers organization next year or for the next 4 years, I think you're mistaken. I could be eating crow 4 years from now. I don't think I will be. I think Malik Willis is a diet version of Lamar Jackson. And I think that Kenny Pickett is another version of Mason Rudolph or a diet version of Mitch Trubisky. Why do you need another Mitch Trubisky when you have the original? Like, I don't know. I don't know. And they're talking about his small hands and other things. Like, I don't care. Don't draft him. Like, I don't care that he's from Pitt. And, we drafted James Conner. That was the feel-good story. It worked out for us. This one ain't going to. Wait on CJ. Wait on Young. Wait on these guys that are high caliber, can change your franchise. Like, Ben Roethlisberger's don't grow on trees. Tom Brady's don't grow on trees. Aaron Rodgers don't. But you're not going to get them if even the best scouts in the country are saying, Malik Willis, probably not that guy. So it's going to be interesting. We got to wrap up here, Scotty, real quick. Let's get to our What's Your Spark, presented by our friends over at Joe Dickey Electric. It's What's Your Spark time, Scotty. What do you got?
Today, this is an easy one. My spark, and it's 2 things, but one, that tomorrow is the NFL draft. Always look forward to it. I honestly think it should be a national holiday, and people should be allowed to have the Friday off. So always look forward to that. My second spark, DJ, is that we're able to do this show together, and we have our moments where we go, we butt heads a little bit, or we get a little bit heated with each other, go back and forth, but we have a respect. It's kind of like Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel when they.
Which one am I? The bald one, I'll bet.
Yeah, I'll say you're Gene Siskel. But Yeah. So yeah, that's my spark. Just excited for the draft. I know the Browns don't have a first round pick, but it doesn't mean they can't come away with some very good players. And just doing the show with you and having it wouldn't be as fun, I don't think, if you were a Browns fan too. So
Well, you
I
don't have to worry
will
about
say
that. My spark is going to be hats off and a positive spark to the Austintown Fitch Falcons yesterday, both on the softball diamond and on the baseball field, getting victories over Boardman, which in both scenarios, bigger than you can imagine. And it was a 2-0 game. Brandon Popio poked one out to left field, a long bomb, and it was gone the second it left the bat. And what a game. I talked to you guys about the excitement that I had to call that game. Can't tell you how great it was to be able to have a main event type atmosphere. Great crowd. It was a little chilly, but the boys put on a show nonetheless. And congratulations to Austintown Fitch. Cannot wait till May 11th, till round 2, because that is going to be an unbelievable atmosphere at Boardman this time, and we will certainly be there for that. Scotty, on behalf of all of us at YSN, thank you for popping in each and every Wednesday. I know that you had an awesome time on Running Point. You got a couple points against Ty, and it made a couple really good points here on this show today. So it's always good having you, and looking forward to next week, my friend.
Certainly, DJ. It's always a pleasure, and hopefully everyone has a great week.
That's it. We'll see you tomorrow, 3 to 4, right here on your sports network. Goodbye, everybody.